Hi, this is Trevor Nestman and Josh Marshmallow, and here we are presenting our game Snake.
Yep. And this part right here, this is our high score class. So eventually, when we have everything built, this class will receive a score uh, from another class after gameplay is finished. So the player will, when game over, submits this to the class, and then this class will decide if the player's score was or was not a high score.
So, as we go on, I think the first thing that we were going to just kind of talk about is it if statements the first one we're going to hit on, Josh?
Yeah.
All right, so we go have two different if statements as we demonstrate here as well. So we have if and then we have switch, and I know for me I didn't understand too much the difference, but after coding and everything, it seems like if for me, it's a lot easier to use in kind of mathematical things if you need to solve that. Like if you're trying to figure out if it's a high score, it's a good way to compare. But then for kind of input and then already set things, a switch is good and it looks really clean. So like here, we have the difficulty, and so we know it's just going to be a number 1 through 3, and it's a lot easier than doing a list of if statements like if equal equals 1. Instead, you can just do switch case 1, and it will go through everything that you need it to do.
Exactly. If statements are, I prefer to use them more to just check Boolean values. If this is true or if this is false. Switch statements are great for lists of options, like Trevor said. That if you have, it's cleaner syntax. I feel like than having a giant list of if-else statements, and you can just kind of see the options a bit more clear. So a little bit more human readable, in my opinion. Just to list it all out. And it's also better at selecting different options rather than checking a Boolean on each one.
All right, perfect. And then the next thing we're actually going to talk about is just our different looping statements. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so we have the one that I think most people learn at the beginning is just your basic for loop where you declare a variable, and like here we have int k is what we're calling it, setting it equal to something, and then you have the comparison in the middle, and then at the end is where you're going to be incrementing it. So it'll continue to run through this loop until this is no longer met. And your other one is going to be while loops. And then I know down here, not too far away, we have, we don't, do we have a do while in this specific structure, or?
I don't think we did. We didn't really have a need for a while in this class. Generally, a while, unlike a for, which is usually counting, like Trevor explained, it will just count through until a certain condition is met and repeat the option. With a while, it will just continue looping through until like some sort of event occurs. So again, another condition is met. So for is great for like counting through something, while is great for doing something until an example is user input. You use while loop to make sure that the user inputs something that is valid input. So if you're looking for something specific, the user can put in whatever they want, and you check what they put in. And if it's not right, you just loop back and ask again. So that's what whiles are towards that. Event listening, basically, just waiting. Right condition met for person to continue on. And do whiles are pretty much the same, except for you're guaranteed to at least run the code once in case the condition is already met in the while, in which case the normal while would just get skipped.
All right, exactly. So yeah, Josh, sorry if the quality is a little bit choppy right now. We have internet issues, but he explained it perfectly in that a while is good for running for like user input, making sure that it continues to run it until the condition is met. And again, it just checks one condition, and everything else is kind of left up to the coder to develop with inside. And then a do while, do runs at least once, and then checks to see if the condition is met in the while statement. And our next one, we're talking about arrays, and up here we actually worked with two-dimensional arrays, and this is the first time I've done it. And we have a string for each of our high scores, and in a two-dimensional array we have like kind of objects and objects. So we set it, for testing purposes, we've set them equal to, we just already have our list constructed up here. So within like 0, 0 is Josh, and then 0, 1, and then 1, 0 is Trevor, 1, 1 is 2, and so it's a good way to match up our names with the scores, and so that's why you used a two-dimensional array here. And a way to work through them, there's several ways. We did a for loop up here, and later on we learned kind of like that we're able to use a for each loop to work through them as well. And did I just run right over it?
No, I think it's further down.
Is it further down?
It was in your function you wrote.
Oh, that's right, that's right. Yeah, it's right here, just to check to see if it's like a high score. And so Josh pointed out that a for each loop is a good way to work through an array specifically, because it's always just you're never gonna have out of bounds problems within a for each loop. I don't want to say never, but it's a lot easier to not run into that problem. And it automatically sets, like high score in here is automatically pointed to the value within high scores itself. And so you don't have any problems. Sorry, you can go.
Oh, go ahead. For each loops are just a lot cleaner way to work through an array rather than a for loop. Just in the case that you can set, for example, you have here set H score as high scores. So each element of high scores is just named H score for the duration of the loop, and it's just a cleaner way to do it than having to access each element by element number or name. Just a bit cleaner way to do it. Plus, it can also, while this doesn't necessarily need it here, when you have multi-dimensional arrays, it can make your code a lot cleaner, just because you can set, for example, you could do high score equals, or for each high scores 1 as high score, in which case it will loop through the second dimension of the array instead of the first. But instead of having to do high score 1 over and over again, you can just do H score. So it just makes things a little cleaner. It's a very nice and efficient way to loop through an array.
Okay, awesome. And I think that is most of the things that we were supposed to talk about. Anything else that you'd like to hit on, Josh?
No, I think we've covered everything. If you have any other questions, feel free to call or text us or email us.
Yeah, and so as far as creativity points, I think our lists speak for themselves. We're creative in mind in the way that we do our programs. We use the insertion method, and that was kind of a pain, but that was the method that we were able to use. And but yeah, it's finding little ways to have fun that's made everything worthwhile, right, Josh?
Yep.
Well, that's any last words?
So let's just run the function, run it.
Oh, that's right. Let me just go down to my output. And so here's an example of our code in action. This is specifically running high score, is what we've been working with a lot. So I'll ask for user input. So we're going to do Josh because he's in the list. And we'll give him a score of 4,000. And we'll say he was playing on hard difficulty. And so, as you can see, Josh has made it just right below Ebola. H1N1 still at the top of the chart, and where's the any keys down at the bottom? And then
it's right under.
Sorry about that. And this next score is just testing. We kind of wanted to go through and just mark, be able to easily see where his score is. And I think we're just going to build this in as a basic function. That's what you're talking about, yeah, Josh?
Yeah. We were going to, this will be just built in later, this second part of the hook that Trevor's going to show us right now.
So just kind of like an easier, like user-friendly, like, oh, there's my high score. So when the player initially enters the game, they'll put in their name, and anytime they view the high scores, their high scores will be highlighted within the list. So that'll be good.
And there it is.
And that's all.